Alton Towers has finally lifted the curtain on their brand new attraction, and I've got the inside scoop just for you. From thrilling stats to an intriguing backstory and of course the all-important name reveal, the ride is shaping up to be a bit of a game changer. Stick around as we dive into everything you need to know about the park's latest creation. Okay, so this morning the park put a teaser out on socials and they sent some information to the press telling us what is happening with this new attraction. Now, the first thing is not a surprise. Probably the worst kept secret in the industry is the name for this attraction. But they have now finally confirmed that it is going to be known as Toxicator, which I personally don't mind the name. I think the name's fine as it is. Now, they released a little teaser, as I said, which I will put in later on in the video. But effectively, they have told us some of the important ride stats. Now, the first one here is that this is only one of two of the suspended models in Europe. Now, the other one is Talikin, which I was on only 2 days ago. So I'll be talking about that one in this video as well. It's the tallest topspin of its kind. I mean, I saw Coaster Tog interestingly said for towers to have the tallest of anything is quite impressive, and he's not far wrong. It's a bit of a stretch, to be fair, because effectively all they have done is taken this standard ride and elevated it on a concrete platform and then went, ta-da, it's the tallest one out there. I mean, it is. And it'll be interesting because I think at that height above ground level, it will probably enhance the ride experience. I'm curious what the view is going to be like. I mean, obviously on one side you've got Galactica, which is kind of a little bit run down. And then on the other side, you would have had Blade, but now we've just got a gaping hole. So I'm not entirely sure what the view is going to be like from up there. And to be fair, if it's anything like Talikin, you're not going to be there long enough to see it. So what we do know nonetheless is, as I say, apart from the name, there is a little bit of backstory to go with this one. So again, obviously given it's in Forbidden Valley, it is tied into the Phalanx. And in this case, they have found a way to weaponize Nemesis. Now, I kind of guessed this from the fireworks, and I think many of you probably did as well. Effectively, what this ride is going to be is that they are extracting the saliva, and now I thought it was some sort of venom, but the saliva from Nemesis. And then they said basically through centripetal forces, quite extreme ones in fact, I'll read the exact wording in a minute, they're going to turn this into a weapon that will basically melt anything. So I think that, to me, that's quite a nice backstory. It does tie in to Nemesis quite well. Also explains the green colour. Now, again, let me get the thing up here because I want to make sure I'm saying the right thing. But effectively, they've confirmed that there's going to be the water effects, right? Although, well, no, they've told us that it's going to be green lit water. So on both sides, you're going to have fountains shooting up. And this is supposed to be that toxic waste, effectively. So the official wording here is the latest technology from the shadowy organisation known as the Phalanx, and it is used by them to extract and separate toxic saliva from the Nemesis creature. It applies an intense spinning centrifugal force to the saliva, which turns it into a chemical solution so powerful it will melt anything it touches. Now, it's interesting that they say there that this is using intense spinning, because I guess one of the things is, obviously I'm going to compare this to Talikin. Partly because I've just been on it, but partly because, well, it's the only other suspended topspin in Europe. That is an impressive cycle that they run. It is very intense. I absolutely loved it. As I say, I was on it at the weekend. I've been on it twice now. The first time I was actually quite intimidated by the ride because it is quite a spectacle to see. So if they have a cycle comparable to that, then this will be quite something. I'm curious about that though, because the park has officially said that this will have around about 500 riders an hour. Now, I looked online and there's no official stats from Phantasialand, but the numbers that I could see online were 900 riders an hour, which is twice as many. And it's quite a good cycle that you get on Talikin. So that could just be German efficiency and how quickly they load and offload the ride, because I think that is the key thing. I've done some of the sums because there's 38 riders on this, 500 riders an hour. I think I worked it out to be about 4 and a bit minutes per cycle, but that includes loading and offloading. And we know that, well, the general public are a bit sluggish when it comes to getting on rides, so there'll be lots of faffing about and putting bags away and all that crap. Get your phone away and all. I'm curious how long the actual cycle is, but nonetheless, if this does have the extreme spinning, then we should be in for something spectacular. Now, in terms of those fountains that I mentioned, it says here that you will be held face down above the bubbling pool of highly toxic alien acid. So I am curious, as I say, whether these jets will go up high enough to get you wet. I think you did get sprayed on Ripsaw. I never went on it, so I can't remember exactly. But then if you look at something like Monkey Swinger, Obviously a very different ride, but you do get wet on that. In fact, you get soaked on that, so it's not going to be like that. But I'm curious if these jets will get you wet or slightly moist or not at all. I did watch Sean's video on this one, and he did have a very valid point that if this is green lit water, I mean, that would be perfect in the evening when it's dark, but I'm curious how well that will appear during the day in the sunlight. So hopefully they've managed to get the lighting in such a way that even in the day you'll be able to see this green effect, because probably won't look quite as good. I'm curious, this obviously has a tunnel underneath it and you will go through that tunnel, so I'm curious what theming there is inside there. But that, along with the actual opening date. Now the park have said they're not yet ready to announce that opening date. I think we're all expecting it to be the opening day of the season. I mean, that was The Curse, Nemesis Reborn, etc. They all opened on the first day, and I'm sure that's what the park is aiming for. I guess they're just not far enough along to commit to that date just yet. But they've said the spring, so I would expect it to be opening day. I will be there on opening day, and I hope to get on this attraction. So yeah, curious what that date will be when they confirm it. A couple other things, they've mentioned that the height restriction for this is 1.4, which is obviously one of the higher restrictions. Kind of makes sense, it's quite an extreme ride, or it can be quite an extreme ride, and I'm certainly hoping that that's the sort of cycle they're going to run it on. So yeah, definitely not one for the little ones, but you know, certainly all the adults will get on it. The other thing, of course, is that when they did the planning permission, they put in for these two theme structures up the side. Now, there is some aerial footage so that somebody has captured, I will link that in the video, showing it covered in snow right now, and there's just two scaffolding sections up the side, so we can't see what that is. I think we're all expecting the same sort of thing here, certainly from the videos, both at the fireworks and of course this teaser here. There's obviously this whole green slime, saliva, toxic thing going on, so I fully expect that these will be two tanks up the side. I'm curious what that means. Will they just be bubbling effect? Will it change colour? Will something happen to them? Hopefully there is some sort of movement in them. They are kind of kinetic and they're not just static barrels down the side. But who knows? I guess we will find that out in due course. But I'm curious what your thoughts are on this one. Are you excited for this ride? Do you like the name? Do you think it's going to fit in? I know some people have said green inside Forbidden Valley, where everything is red and black. But I kind of, personally, I think this will be a nice little bit to break it up, and I think the green obviously makes sense in the context of the backstory here. So I'd love to know your thoughts, and will you be there on opening day for this ride? Let me know down below. If you enjoyed this one, hit that like button and do subscribe. I've been Chris, you've been watching Coaster Dad, and I shall see you in the next one. Adios!